So I was scrolling through the internet and I saw that they had released a press conference out of the White House. And so, considering the mass shooting that just had occurred, I assume that that's what they would be addressing. So if you're not familiar with the mass shooting, it's the gentleman that you see down below. And I'm going to play a clip, and I want you all to get familiar with it if you're not already.
The shooting began during a school-wide mass marking the beginning of the school year at around 8:30 local time yesterday morning. The shooter opened fire with a rifle, shotgun, and pistol, all legally purchased weapons, according to police. 2 children ages 8 and 10 were killed. 17 others were wounded, including 14 children and 3 elderly individuals.
So as you can see, I mean, with something that tragic that's happening in this country, you would think that, okay, that would be the focal point of this press conference. But I've noticed that they had this guy named Brandon Tatum there. And if you're not familiar with him, he's a far right-wing, buck dancing, black conservative. And so what he does, he grifts to the racist community by making all of this content bashing black people. Like, all his content consists of just trash in the black community. And I knew once I saw him that they were trying to shift this whole narrative. And so I want you to pay attention to this clip that came out of the White House, and I want you to follow me and see how they tried to switch this whole narrative around and take the attention away from this particular incident and shift it elsewhere. Just pay attention.
Social media influencer, content creator, Brandon Tatum. Brandon, thank you so much for joining us today. Why don't you kick us off?
Caroline, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. And on behalf of everybody that follow me, the millions of people that follow me, I want to say thank you for making the sacrifice and dealing with some of the most disingenuous people on planet Earth at times. I have 2 questions. The first question is associated with the shooting that occurred the other day. And I want to ask the question of, we know that it's not a gun thing. Any rational person knows it's not a gun thing. We know it's a mental health issue. So I want to know from you, what is President Trump and the White House going to do to address mental health issues around the country associated with these shootings? And the second thing is Chicago. Anybody with a connected brainstem knows that Chicago's crime is out of control. And young black men are getting killed, laying dead in the middle of the streets every single day in Chicago. No president has addressed any of these issues. And so what is the White House going to do to address issues in their capacity to deal with the conflict and violence in Chicago?
Sure. Well, to your first question about this shooting in Minnesota, right now, the administration is focused on helping the people of Minnesota. It's been less than a day, of course, since this tragedy happened. We have federal law enforcement on the ground assisting local law enforcement. This investigation is ongoing. There's still a lot of facts to understand about these circumstances, and so we're going to continue to do that. As for Chicago and cracking down on crime, it is a priority of this administration to ensure that American cities are safe again, and I'm so glad that you brought up the crime in Chicago, because we've been seeing the governor of Illinois parading out there saying that there's nothing wrong with Chicago. It's a great place to live. There's no crime there. He doesn't need President Trump's help. Well, I think the residents of Chicago beg to differ, and the statistics beg to differ. And I'll just share a few of those statistics with all of you. For 13 consecutive years, Chicago has had the most murders of any U.S. city. This is J.B. Pritzker's legacy, by the way. For 7 consecutive years, Chicago has had the highest murder rate among U.S. cities with more than 1 million people. In 2024, just last year, Chicago's murder rate per capita was 3 times higher.
Now, if you was paying attention like I was, you would see you see how he had this 2-part question where he started out the conversation asking about the particular incident, but then you see how he shifted it by trying to bring up Chicago. Now, I mean, this guy have just killed 2 kids. Not just this guy, this white guy. He just killed 2. He went to a church and a school. He killed 2 kids, shot 14 other kids, and then shot 3 elderly people that was in like their 80s. So how is it that with something as extreme as that, like, what are you talking about Chicago for? Like, how does Chicago come up in that equation? But that was the whole point. He shifted it. And as you can see, just by coincidence, she got the statistics for Chicago on deck. You could clearly tell that was a layup conversation. Like, they've already scripted this before they even came on. This was scripted. They sat back there. They already came up with the questions. She knew exactly what he was going to ask. That's why she had the statistics already on standby. She was waiting for that question. And that's why she started the conference off with that. So that way now we could shift the attention to what's happening in Chicago. But don't you think that it's ironic that whatever transpired with this guy, you know, harming all of those people, oh, this is a mental health issue. This is not a gun issue. You know, this is actually, you know, Chicago is where it's violent. Chicago is where the crime is at. Well, what do you consider that? What do you consider that? Like, how do we shift to Chicago from something like that? Like, how is that even possible? But you got to be very careful whenever you follow, and especially this current administration. But if you pay attention, look how they just shifted that. I mean, like, man, at the end of the day, if a black person were to do something like that, oh, yeah, the black community, anytime a black person does something in this country, it's always, we're grouped together as a collective. Oh, look at the black community. But as you can see with that, not once did they address the fact that, okay, this is a white guy. So is this an issue in the white community, or is it just an issue in the black community? Because I don't understand, how did we go from that to Chicago? But it was already staged. They would rather shift this attention and create, you know, the black boogeyman, if you will, to change the narrative. And that's just what it is. You got to call a spade a spade. But if you pay attention, then you will see what's going on. And that's why I wanted to make this video. So if you actually look at him, Brandon Tatum, like I said, his content is always bashing black people. So it wasn't a coincidence that he even did that. I already knew that was coming. But what I do want to do is play a clip for you so you can actually see who he truly is. Because while he's talking about the black on black violence that's going on in Chicago, I want to play a clip so you can see his true character. I want you to see his true character, because while he does all this buck dancing, like, he knows what's going on, and I want you to pay attention to that. So I'm gonna play this clip and give you a real chance to see what the wolf look like when you take off the sheep clothing.
They created you the fakest nigga I ever seen in my life. They created the crime bill. I see you in person. They created the crime bill. What you said. They created. I'm done, bro. You a fake nigga. I hope everybody see that. I appreciate it. Fake, bro. I'm gonna expose you to everybody. And when I see you, nigga, we gonna be. It's gonna be on. I want you to know that. Because you call me on the phone and you saying all this, and then you get on the live stream and you playing this shit. You should be ashamed of yourself. Is that black on black crime? Is that black on black crime? You's a bitch. I called you. Everybody on your live stream know you's a bitch, and when I see you, I'm whooping your ass. Everybody got it on live stream. I like it. You want to be hood, nigga? You want to be hood? You on the phone talking shit to me, and you call me and say you apologize? Yeah, nigga. I never apologized. You apologize? I never apologized. You didn't apologize. My wife listened to you, nigga. I never apologized. What I said was, bitch, nigga.
Okay, so yeah, that's his true character. You seen that. You seen that. That's who he is. While he's trying to sell people on this narrative that, oh, you know, what about the black community? You just as violent. You hostile and violent. So what you talking about, the black on black crime? What was that? What was that we just witnessed? Because clearly he's violent. And while he try to profess himself to be some type of conservative Christian, like they say, it ain't no love like Christian hate. So when it comes down to it, pay attention. Pay attention. Just don't be fooled by these people, because this is the sort of rhetoric that he spews, and he's only fanning the flames to his racist audience. And so at the end of the day, you know, that's who he truly is. That's his true character. So anytime you see him, just remember that clip and know that you're faced with the wolf that's in sheep's clothing. Now that's it for the video. Won't he do it?